Yeah, I did reach out through email. And again, I did talk to her 2 days ago. I know she intended on participating.
Okay, good. We'll hope.
Yeah. See if I have her number. No, just an email.
That's all I have too.
I think she's joining up right now.
Oh, there she goes.
Okay, there we go.
Now we are live and also recorded, so whenever you guys want to start, you guys are good to go.
Sure. Leah, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Yeah, let's call this meeting to order. Is Ann, do we know she can hear us yet? Have we gotten confirmation she's
Looks
actually
like
here?
she's still connecting up her audio.
Maybe we should let
okay.
her come
There
on.
she
There we go.
is.
Hey, Ann.
Yay.
She has
Can you hear
video,
us,
but
Ann?
no audio yet.
Mhm.
Up there, she should be
We
now.
can see her.
I know, it's for some reason wanted to prompt my audio. Sorry, I had to apply for unemployment because I just got furloughed about an hour
Oh,
ago.
I'm sorry. Just to let you know, this is being video recorded and televised. So, okay,
So,
just to let you know. But we
The
are
rest of my
genuinely
personal
sorry to hear. Genuinely sorry
oh,
to hear it.
that is terrible. All right. Well, I'm going to call this meeting to order and I'm going to do roll call. So Ann Bayer,
Here.
Steve Bouch,
Here.
Mike Faze,
Here.
Chris Guzikowski is a known absence. Heather Ryan,
Here.
Adam Thiel, also a known absence. And thank you, Jeff, for joining us.
We also have Jeff Went from the city and myself, Lori Miller. It appears that we do not have Ted Johnson, and we did know that Mary Jane Trait would not be joining us, and Rebecca Lane. So, well, here we'll get right into the meat of things. The approval of meeting minutes. Leah, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. Did we have meeting minutes in our packet?
They said they put them in there.
Because I don't remember reading any meeting minutes to approve.
That's the problem. Yeah, I don't see it in my copy either.
So I don't believe I ever saw meeting minutes. So I'd like to suggest that we table that and
Table it
approve
until
those
the-
at our following meeting. Do I need a motion to table?
Yes, to hold.
Would somebody like to make a motion to table?
I'll move to table the approval of the minutes until our next meeting.
Steve Alch will second.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And just to let you know, from now on to handle the signing of the meeting minutes, they were supposed to include these in here, but they were also supposed to include an additional copy into Ann's packet. And then all you have to do is drop it off in the Dropbox. And then
Did she have a copy? Ann, did you have a copy of the minutes?
I don't think so.
so the one that you're supposed to sign got sent afterwards. I
Oh,
did not realize that they didn't send the initial version either. So we will get that taken care of for the next meeting.
sorry about that.
Well, I'll have a little more time on my hands, so if you'd like me to pick it up, I can do that.
All right. Are we ready to move to new business then?
All right.
Item A, election of a commission chairperson and secretary.
So open the floor for nominations for the chairperson.
Ryan would like to nominate Leah Schreiber Johnson as chair.
I second that.
Okay, any other nominations?
If anybody else wants to be chair, I'm happy to nominate you as well.
Hearing none, let's go ahead and do the vote.
Okay,
We need a vote?
then all in favor of me maintaining my position as chair,
Aye.
say aye.
Hi,
Aye.
Okay, great.
you do such a great job.
Like I'm muddling through this whole thing. Okay, then we have to do the same thing for secretary.
Mhm. So open the floor for nominations.
Do we have any nominations for secretary?
Heather Ryan would like to nominate Ann Beyer for secretary if she'd like to continue.
I will second that nomination.
Okay, any other nominations? All right, hearing none, go forward with the,
All right, then all in favor of Ann Bear maintaining her position as secretary, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That's a unanimous. Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Oh, there were some close votes.
real nail biter.
Yep.
We get her done.
All right.
All right,
so-
then, oh, sorry.
Go for it. No, go
I
for
was
it.
just gonna say then I'm just gonna go ahead and move along to item B, which is the informational staff report.
Okay, we'll make this super quick. Not a lot has changed since the last time we've met. Abishon Skate Park project. We did the final skate park outreach at Winterfest. Thank you for all the commission members that came and joined me. We had approximately 1,500 people show that went through those doors and stopped by our booth, which was really great. Online survey, I didn't get the total number of how many surveys were taken, but essentially the survey mimicked the information that was provided at Winterfest. So the respondents overwhelmingly favored concept 3, which had the bold design. And we'll actually go a little further into this, further into the agenda. The other project that we have going on right now is a Chapel Hills Park Planting Initiative. We were originally going to do a public planting event, but obviously because of COVID, we declined moving forward with that. And staff is just going through the process of getting the planting done and working directly with the residents that are located along the periphery of the park, make sure that we're meeting some of their expectations for plantings near their property. The Riverton Park and Manor Marquette Playground Replacement Project, my understanding is both projects are undergoing revision still due to comments received from staff and commissioners. And in the case of Riverton Park, we're also waiting on Milwaukee County to move forward with it. Final design should be completed later this spring. Hi, Ted, how are you?
Hi.
Welcome. Then we have the Oak Leaf Trail extension. This is something that we just got put back on our radar. County notified us that the construction began May 11th for the extension between Drexel. So it's just east of the Union Pacific rail line. And then it goes down the ATC utility corridor and intersects with 5th Avenue. So it ends kind of closer to Bender Park, just to give you a little reference. This path is approximately 11 feet wide. It crosses over 2 bridges. Signage and pedestrian crossing pavement markings will be located at all the road crossings and near the railroad crossing. And then also in your packets, you can see a photo or a rendering of basically the location of the trail system. The commission policies and guidelines, 5-year capital improvements plan, and Parks and Open Space plan update are still in progress. As you can imagine, COVID has really taken a toll. A lot of our resources have been devoted more towards that and dealing with the fallout for local businesses and extra projects that definitely were not on our radar before this all happened. So that is the completion of the staff update.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to bring up? Then let's go ahead and move along to item C, proposal for consideration approval of the 2021 meeting dates.
So Parks Commission has always historically held their meeting every second Thursday, every other month, or also on as needed basis. So we wanted to go in and put a proposal in for all the future meeting dates between 2020 and 2021. And I have that listed in your packet. However, I did want to note that normally we have a parks tour that's scheduled in July, but we didn't have any new projects that came up this year. So I felt the tour might not be very productive for what we need to get done. So I also want to propose that we consider converting that into just a regular meeting instead of the park tour. So that if any additional business that needs to be taken care of can be done in July instead of holding off till September. So if you're all in agreement with that.
I think that considering that some of what we wanted to get done today is maybe not going to be fully done, right? Is that because are we able to do some of the like talk about the thing that Mary Jane wanted to talk about? Are we going to be able to still move forward with that? Are you going to lead those, like the topic of the fee change? Are we going to be able to do that?
We'll still go through all the approvals on it.
Okay.
The city is probably going to address things on a case-by-case basis right now with the loss of revenue. Some projects are not going to be moving forward right now at this moment. We're just being cautious. But there are a couple things where we already have budgeted and the funds are there and they're being taken out of impact fees. Those are the very few projects that we can still move forward with. But again, we also have to look at the maintenance cost those projects go forward. So that might also impact whether or not we move forward.
I guess what I was wondering is I understand the potential benefit to us having that be a business meeting in July rather than a tour. I do recall, however, us talking during the tour last time and after the tour about the potential interest of touring sites that maybe were flagged by the city as particularly in need of attention. So like I remember when we had our tour, Jeff was talking about some specific things at some specific parks that he felt were actually priorities that were kind of under the radar for the commissioners. And we had talked about the potential of using the tour as an opportunity to go to these specific sites of where the city was identifying a potential need, just so the commissioners could get a better understanding of like what the priorities were and why beyond the larger new projects that come to us on a regular basis. So what I was thinking was that maybe we potentially, if there's interest from the other commissioners on doing a tour that is maybe not of new projects, but of sites that the city was identifying as in need of attention, and that it would give the commissioners a better picture of what those needs were, just for our own benefit, not because we needed to make any decisions about it, but just so that we were fully educated on the needs of the parks. But I was also thinking, I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited about this Oak Leaf Trail extension. It's been something that's been in the works for a long time. And maybe by the end of the summer, it would be something worth us going out and looking at. And maybe instead of a tour, we go for a walk and we walk the Oak Leaf Trail for the new segment of it and take a look and see how it's going. Those are just some ideas.
Okay.
I think they're good ideas. I like that.
So
to that too. I like those ideas.
Okay. So not to derail the idea of it being a business meeting, I wonder if we're just going to go for a walk together, maybe we don't need to take the staff's time. Maybe Lori doesn't have to mark the day and come out with us. But I don't know because we're a government body, if we need to have you there so that it can be.
We would still have to have it issued as a official.
Yeah. So I don't know the specifics. Maybe Lori and I can work that out offline.
Sure. I'll have a conversation with Jeff Wendt if there's some specific parks that have more need than others. Because there are some where they have a few items here and there. So, but
do you remember that, Jeff?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Just making sure.
Jeff, would it be, what about if Jeff, and I don't want extra work for you, Jeff, but if there were specific parks and areas that you thought needed attention or would be worth our time visiting, we kind of did our own self-guided tour with information that you provided to us in advance. And then by July 9th, we had walked through those spaces so we could talk about it. And then maybe we join up at the Oak Leaf Trail and walk that or something, but that maybe we could base our own self-guided tours on things that Jeff thought would be worth checking out.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that.
It also saves the, I mean, I'll also want to be really aware of like the cost of renting the bus and the bus driver for our tour and that sort of thing. And if we can do an independent kind of self-guided tour and then come together for a discussion, I could see that as being a good alternative for this particular year.
Because I could also do pictures and present that in a meeting itself. I'm also concerned about the social distancing aspect of it to make sure that we're doing it correctly. The city still has policies and guidelines, to make sure that we're doing that. That's why we're doing Zoom today, is that they want to try to avoid having us all in one spot and protect everybody that participates with the meeting. So, but let's look into seeing if I can get photos, and if things also turn around with COVID, then maybe we can still do a meeting and do a tour. I think we'll probably know a little bit more within a month to see how things are going now that we're opening back up. And so if everybody feels comfortable with that.
So
Mhm.
maybe we work on this a little bit longer and we revisit it before the next, in time to get everybody aware if there's going to be a new date proposed for some other format. Does that sound right?
That sounds good.
Okay. Anybody have any other thoughts on that? Heather?
No, I was just gonna say, we still need to approve the dates.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the proposed dates, meeting dates for 2020 and 2021.
And Mike will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we've approved the dates. Now, do we want to, do I have a motion about, do we need a motion? I mean, since we're sort of like, we're not really ready to say what we're going to do we just say,
I would say we can
Item.
just not do a motion on that. I think having just the date itself is probably sufficient, and then the format itself can be decided at a later point. And we'll also have to, when we notice the meeting, we'll have to have obviously a decision by then, so we can let the public know what that format's going to be.
sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. All right. Anything else around the meeting dates, Lori?
No, I think that's all.
Okay, then I'm going to move to item D, proposal for consideration on the baseball fields.
Sure. So I don't know if we have our speakers with us right now, Frank Carini and Scott Holler.
No, I haven't seen them join.
There we
Oh.
go.
Oh,
IT is nice enough to help us with
Oh,
the technology
cool.
forum. Hi, guys. How are you? You're on mute. There you go. Perfect.
Hi, guys.
Somebody must be controlling us. There you go. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Okay, so we just started our item. Would you guys like to present to the commission on the issue you brought forward?
Yeah, so this is something that has been talked about for quite some time, and with the renovation that's going on with the Oak Creek High School and the 3 ball diamonds that were located on the school's property to the east of Oak Creek High School now being gone. We wanted to check in and see what the status is of the city and their plans, since they no longer have access to those 3 fields. If they will be adding any fencing to any of the plethora of fields that we have in the city, so that teams from the 8U, 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U can play games and rent any of those fields. The issue is, and Jeff Wendt can obviously chime in since he knows this better than me, I believe there's 2 fields at Shepherd Hills where teams can rent and play their games there, whether it's softball or baseball. And then we have obviously Lampe Field over at Oak Creek East Middle School right now, but that's owned by the school district. So the question is if there's any plans to add fencing in front of the bench areas so that all those teams don't have to leave the city, because I know there's at least 2 usually teams at each grade level that want to rent in the city and play their games for their state league, for their WYBL, whatever league they might be in. They are expected to have a home field. So I can speak personally. I know our team had to leave the city at least on 5 occasions last year because Oak Creek East empty field was rented, as well as Shepherd Hills. So again, I don't know what the plans are for Oak Creek Parks and Rec in terms of T-ball and all that. That was always in the morning, so that was never the issue. I don't know exactly why the fields didn't get rented more at night. I don't know if it had, I don't know, Jeff would have to answer that, but I guess my question is, I do know there's lots of teams had, and I'll be honest, I'm not coming at this as an athletic director or anything like that. I'm coming as just someone who lives in the city, whose son happens to play on travel teams and teams that are looking for fields to rent. For those of you that aren't familiar with exactly what I'm talking about, is in order to play a game for baseball or softball, you have to have, I would suggest, a 15-foot length fence by at least 6 feet high to protect the players on the sidelines. And all of the fields we have, for example, in the city at Cedar Hills, Carrollton, Riverton Meadows, and Jeff can list all of them, Haas Park, Meadowview, you name them, those just have a backstop. So teams can practice at those fields, which is great. We have lots of places for teams to practice. But what we don't have is we don't have a place for these teams to play their games other than Shepherd Hills, and if they rent it through the school district. And Jeff can obviously chime in and tell me if I'm way off or if I'm accurate with that. But anyway, so that's kind of what we're looking for. We're looking to see if the city will consider basically adding some fencing at those places. I personally, when I drive around and look at the different fields, I see parking at Carrollton as a plus. Riverton Meadows is obviously set in the neighborhood, so maybe that would be my third. And then the field at Cedar Hills would probably be my second as an option because of the parking there as well. There's other fields, you know, where this could also be done. I don't know what the parking situation is over at Haas Park. But yeah, that's pretty much what we wanted to bring to your attention and kind of just see where the city was at and where you guys were at in possibly replacing those 3 diamonds, not only for the youth, for the T-ball and the little park and rec kids playing, but also for all the teams in the city that are taking their money and they're, you know, it's a little embarrassing when you have to say that your home field, you know, for your Oak Creek Storm or your Oak Creek Zone or whatever field is field in Franklin, or in our case last year, we played several of the games at Hardy Park or, you know, Wilson Park or whatever, because there's a lot of these fields in Oak Creek, but they just don't have the fencing. So I'll stop talking now.
Thank you, Scott.
Do you want to give a little background on some of the parks that, or would you like me to go and give them the synopsis of what you gave me in an email for a background?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead over what you have. I know Carrollton did have T-ball in the evening too, Scott. I'm not sure if it was every night of the week. I know it was at least 2 nights T-ball, and then they played soccer over there on another couple of nights at Carrollton.
Yeah, so just collecting data from Beth and then Mary Jane from Recreation. Essentially, the city only owns 1 minor major ball field, which is Shepherd Hills. And then, of course, the school district appears to have 2. And those are all equipped to handle competitive or league baseball. And this is information also for the public for them to know. The city owns Carrollton Park, but when it comes to Johnstone, which you guys also consider as Cedar Hills, and Riverton Meadows, we actually don't own it. We lease it from the county. And then on top of that, those baseball fields were put in by the county. So we, as a city, cannot make any alterations to them without going through the county to do so. So that comes with some challenges just in itself. So the 3 parks were designed and equipped to be for neighborhood youth. And so you have different size parks. Community park, which would typically have facilities, you know, restrooms, parking. It just tends to be a giant park. We only have 2 community parks in the city, and that is Lake Vista and Abendschein. And then the majority of our parks are neighborhood level parks. So they don't have parking access. They're really meant for the residents that live within the neighborhoods surrounding it. So when it comes to Johnstone, Carrollton, and Riverton Meadows, all three fields, they lack baseball pegs, which is a requirement. They don't have fencing to protect the dugout. They don't have lighting. They don't have parking. They don't have restroom facilities. We do have some struggles with Johnstone Park because it wasn't graded well. And so we do experience flooding on those fields. So that's often negatively impacted during rain times, especially in the spring. So that's definitely a struggle. And as Jeff said, Carrollton Park hosts the city's recreation summer T-ball league. In general, this program operates Monday through Thursday between June and August. And this program wasn't always at this location. It was originally at the high school field, but with the construction, we had to move it to Carrollton at that time. And right now, no recreation program is occurring at Riverton or Johnstone Park. So that's just some of the basics. And I also know in our email account, you mentioned that if we were able to add a fence and the dugout or the fence and the baseball fields, we're talking about adding essentially 80 games between the three parks throughout the summer, which is pretty dramatic, especially considering that the local residents like to come up there and practice. It's one of the few places that they can go. So I know there's going to be some concern with traffic because they would have to most likely park in the street. So.
Lori, you cut out a little bit when you said somebody, no, it was mostly great. Just the very one word. It was just, you said who was going to practice there? A lot of
the local like neighborhood kids come and
the
play.
local kids. So
Yeah.
so it would be to have regularly scheduled games there would it would interrupt the use of the park by the people in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do know, just talking to the mayor the other day regarding this proposal, is that when he was an alderman, he said that this proposal came through once before, and there was a really big outcry from the surrounding neighborhood because they didn't want to deal with the noise. They didn't want to deal with the parking. In particular, he said, I guess there's this is Dan Bukevich. So that would be Johnstone Park. I'm pretty sure that's the one he was speaking of.
He didn't want people parking at the elementary school?
Well, he said that most people weren't parking at the elementary school. Most people were parking on the periphery of the park in the street, and leaving garbage behind. And I guess a lot of the residents were complaining that they were blowing stop signs. And so with that number of games, that's a lot of nights with it. So he had some concerns. I'll let him speak more about it at a later point. But he did give us a fair warning that neighborhood specifically really struggled with the notion when was brought up in the past. I guess there's football games that are played at a park nearby, and
I mean that
probably wasn't helping either.
Lori, excuse me, this is Frank. That data can be a little bit outdated because Dan's been a mayor going for like probably 5-6 years. Oak Creek you guys got to realize Oak Creek is a baseball town. These kids have no place to go. I can tell you, my son who doesn't play baseball, but his friends, there's probably and I'm not exaggerating, there's probably 120 sixth graders that are looking for fields from Oak Creek, that live in Oak Creek, that pay taxes, that we need these baseball fields to be competitive. And in addition to the parking, to be honest with you, to me, that's a short-term fix. I tell you, and also with kids, just neighborhood kids playing, if they have it registered and assigned, you just tell them you walk in, you have the ump and saying, hey, we're playing a game, and they leave. I mean, that's pretty, to me, those are kind of minor little issues there. I'm just saying, we really need to look at that. And I understand the budgets are a little tight this year because everything with the COVID. we're just saying something for 21 season, you know, for starting next year. If we can take baby steps in doing this, because again, like Mr. Holler said, it's a shame on us that we have to go to another city to have a home field game.
Yeah, we're a city of 35,000 people, and I know it's not a lot of revenue, but I guess I'm a little confused by your analogy that you don't want to disturb the neighborhood kids playing at a field when the neighborhood kids are exactly the ones who are on these teams. We're talking about Oak Creek kids and their parents who are taxpayers who would be renting the facility for the cost of whatever it would, you know, take your labor and crew to basically drag the field and line the field, which Jeff can speak to how long that would take to do. I'm not going to. So I just think that's personally a bad take, to say that neighborhood kids can't go and play at the field when that's exactly what we're talking about here. You're talking about taxpayers leaving the city of Oak Creek to go pay another municipality money to use their facilities when you have the facilities right there. All you need to do is add a fence and some base pegs.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be completely honest. It's embarrassing.
I mean, I think that there's an opportunity to also, I mean, we would be in charge of how many games would happen on this field. It's not like it would just suddenly be, oh, there's just way too many games. Like, as a city, we could have a set schedule and a limit to how many reservations there could be, so that there was a good balance of income and you know, expanding usage for the teams that need it, and also still having some, you know, time where kids can just go play on the field if they want to. I mean, I think that that's within our bounds. It's not like we'd sign away the field forever to some mega team
is not coming
Yeah,
to
and
Yeah, there you go.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with you, Leah. And I also I'm part of that group. I have, you know, Frank's son and my son played basketball together, and Jake plays baseball. And there's definitely a need for the baseball fields, I think, in Oak Creek. And Steve, I know you've always been a proponent of trying to get the high school fields going too. So I think if we propose this and just have perimeters, I mean, knowing Dan, he is probably just letting us know that there were neighborhood concerns that came in, right? There's always noisy people, and I'm sure that maybe there was garbage being put behind. So like Leah said, if we have some perimeters, we, you know, keep the number of games in control. We have some measures put in place to keep garbage under control and have everyone be respectful. I think this would be a really good benefit to the city. I just don't know how then the logistics of the budget for it, but I think it would definitely be a good benefit for the city.
Yeah, I mean,
Just for a little history on that field. I mean, that was actually voted upon at one point to make that a big diamond.
Correct.
And the consideration was taken back after the parking and the people in that area found out about it, and because of some other events that had taken place there, kind of rubbed the residents the wrong way. So that's a little history on that. I mean, the parking for the baseball on that field in particular, if you're just going to have a couple of games and they're going to be youth kids, you ain't going to get that amount of parking that these people in, especially there. I mean, the park was used for a huge event. And that's I think why the residents up there were in such an uproar over the parking issue. I mean, if you have like a youth game, I mean, you got, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, 40 cars, 50 cars maybe on the most.
If that. Yep.
If that,
Yep.
that would actually be a lot.
that is a lot.
So
And for
one
me
of the-
being on this board for quite a while, I mean, this conversation of these baseball fields, honestly, is kind of wearing me out, because we've been talking about this since I've been a part of this, about this city needing more fields. Some of the new members I know had heard me pushing about a big diamond, which I know we have one more now at East. We are still easily one field short, and we still are going to have kids in the city playing home games in other cities, because we're still going to be basically a field short. Something that's been getting worked on for years. I really think we need to step up and start moving forward with like Frank said. I mean, this is the baseball town. I mean, these kids are looking for, I've heard, well, it's the school teams. It's not the school teams. It's the kids of Oak Creek that are going to be playing on this. Whether they go to, of course, they're going to be going to school in Oak Creek, but there's still kids that are playing baseball. You're playing on a team in Oak Creek, majority of these kids. So, I mean, I'm an all in for, and I think we really got to start moving forward very quickly to try to get some more of these fields playable for some of these games. I mean, to me, it's ridiculous that these teams got to go play outside of the city. I mean, especially in the baseball community, they talk baseball. In any other communities, Oak Creek's the team. Teams want to play Oak Creek because they're the teams to beat right now. I mean, because it's a great program. So I think we need to step up and start doing something very quickly to start, getting more fields and starting to update some of our fields to make them playable for these games.
I had a question. So as far as traffic and parking concerns are, 2 of the 3 fields are attached to school property. So there's plenty of parking for the school day. There'd be parking nearby for the fields. But the question I had is, from Scott, as far as restroom facilities, is that like a deal breaker because they're not there?
No, I guess Jeff could answer that. I couldn't tell you. I don't recall if, I believe there's simply a porta potty at Shepherd Hills when they used to hold the adult softball league on the one field. And then I know my son played at Shepherd Hills on a handful of occasions last year. I believe there was a porta potty maybe halfway between the 2 fields. I know for the school district, we deal with that at East Middle School. In the past we did. We won't have that issue now, but at the upper field, at Lampe Field, we still will, because we just rent a porta potty. So I know that's an expense of $50 a month, I believe, is what Pat's Portal charges you. So, one game pays for that porta potty. But you're right. I mean, and I appreciate being informed about Johnstone Park at Cedar Hills and Riverton Meadows. I did not know the county owned those. So, I guess Carrollton is the one of the 3 that I brought up when I emailed Lori. Obviously, just to comment on there are that could be used. And again, I'm not here saying we got to tomorrow have 3 more fields because you lost 3. I'm just wanted to bring up the fact that there's definitely a need. Like I said, I know there were 2 organizations that reached out to me this week to see if there were fields in Oak Creek that they could rent. And I said, well, there's Shepherd Hills right now. We're still obviously under the quarantine for July 1st with the school district. Have our facilities open until July 1st. So, so I had two teams that are outside Oak Creek. It's, travel organizations that reached out and asked me, and I said, yeah, Shepherd Hills is the only one that's playable. So.
Lori, from your perspective, I mean, how difficult has it been to work with the county on their park spaces, their properties, to enhance them to our benefit?
So right now we're working on, which is also later in the agenda, we're working on the Ryan Business Park near Amazon. That's gonna be another situation where it's city leased. They're gonna own it. So we have to work with them through it. It'll be the first time I get to work through that process. Previous experience with Milwaukee County is, they definitely have their ideas too, but they're pretty good about collaborating. So.
Seeing as this is definitely a revenue generating project, seems like it would be a little easier to collaborate with the county if we were able to create some kind of a revenue deal, wouldn't it? Am I just like in a crazy spot right now in my mind?
It depends if those baseball teams are going to pay the money that it needs to take to upgrade those fields and keep them. You know what I mean? Because every time they go for a game, they have to restripe. So that's staff time that goes.
Can I say something, Lori?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be more than just dragging and lining the fields for cost. You got to include. You're going to have to put improved infield mix on there on those neighborhood parks. It's kind of a cheap infield mix that we put on those parks. It's not really a good infield mix for playing games. You probably have to put player benches in, storage boxes. There's no fertilizing done, no aerating, no weed spraying. So I don't know what type of level of playing field that you're looking for, Scott.
Well, I'll be honest, Jeff, I've been out on those fields enough because we're practicing on them. So people are renting those fields right now. They're paying the city of Oak Creek money. I can tell you my son's Oak Creek Storm team last year paid to rent, whether it's the one off of 13th Street, Haas Park, not Riverton Meadows. What's the one I'm thinking of? Carrollton. I mean, what we were practicing on was way better than what we had to pay $75 an hour for in Milwaukee to go rent and play, because they actually had pegs and bases and fences in front of the thing. So I get what you're saying, but no, I mean, it depends on how you want to do it. If you want to do it where you don't, where you want to put all that money into it, I don't think that's what the people are looking for. I think the people are looking for not having to drive to Milwaukee to play a baseball game when they drive through their neighborhoods and see all these fields that are unusable. And and I get what you're saying. I know there's costs in terms of, you're already cutting the grass. No one's looking for you to, if there's butterfly or if there's dandelions in the outfield, that's not what people aren't going to care about that. The grass is cut on a regular basis. The field has chalk down. I'm not going to sit here and act like, no, we're looking for 8U and 9U kids to be able to, get out there and play a competitive game without the parents having to drive 20 minutes outside the city.
Yeah, we're not talking like a huge amount of expense here, so it shouldn't be that.
And the
much.
fencing, and I don't know the cost. What's frustrating to me, I'll be honest, what's frustrating to me is all the fencing was available.
Yep.
All the fields that we had at the high school, all the fencing could have been taken care of already. And now it's just a matter of where you wanted to put it. I think there's still fencing, if I remember. And I know it's not, I don't remember if Clement Avenue is it's still owned by
That's
county.
the county.
That's still the county too.
That's the county.
That's a complete waste of space. I don't know what the plan is. I'm not trying to talk out of turn, but I've lived here my whole life. I've seen that go from two beautiful fields that were maintained through over the years for Little League to now it's just one huge big grass field that maybe some neighborhood kids go back and do God knows what in the back. So there's plenty of other opportunities for the fencing. And I don't know, Jeff, does the Carrollton field have two fences in front of it?
No, it's
one bench.
It's just got a fence down the third base line. So we've just been putting the T-ball. They've been sharing the bench on the one third base side.
Gotcha.
And these fields that we've rented, because I've been through this, I've coached and had two boys go through that playing. We played at other cities paying, and one field, and I remember in particular, had a huge oak tree in the middle of center field. If the ball hit it, they would call it foul. And we had to pay to play on that. We played on fields that were worse than any field in Oak Creek by far. That you can barely play a game on it. We had to go out. We paid thousands of dollars on my teams playing out of this city when we theory should have been playing somewhere in our city. We had to play home games in Racine. Home games, they're coming to play Oak Creek, and we're playing home games in Racine or Milwaukee or wherever. In Franklin, we're renting fields, and we're considering these are home games because there was just no place to play.
I think at the end of the day, staff needs to do more research on the financial aspect and do some community outreach too, to make sure that, this is something that, again, this neighborhood park is not really designed to accommodate competitive league type activities. The other thing I know we were talking about in the office is, are there other options out there that are better suited than these three parks? So it's something that staff wants to take some time and look into, because really at the end of the day, this is bigger than just putting some base pegs in and fencing. There's a lot more to it than just that small investment. So,
would somebody on the commission like to make a motion?
I'd like to move to consider the proposal for further investigation by City of Oak Creek staff.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioners in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, then, thank you. We have a request by the commission to the city staff to do more research on the financial impacts of this project so we can find out whether there's something feasible to put on to send to the aldermen and see about moving forward, right?
Sounds
All right.
good.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Scott and
All right.
Frank.
Thank
Appreciate you
you.
being here.
Thank you guys for giving us the time. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeff as well, and Lori for giving us some of the city side of that story. All right, next thing on the agenda is the proposal for consideration, review changes to the 2020 fees for park facilities and recreation programs.
Okay, so I apologize. This was actually in our March agenda. So it's been a while since I looked at it again. But for the most part, most of the fees are about the same. There's only been a few that were slightly increased. And it really was based on an analysis of programming, similar programming to our neighboring communities to help determine if these modest fee increases really should occur. So on Exhibit A, there's a proposal, the proposed fees. And I apologize, let me just quick share my screen here. Of course, I cannot see. Apologize, guys. One second here.
No problem.
There we go. There we go. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right. So as you can see in the center column is the current fees for 2019 and then the proposed fees for 2020. So just some of the activities, we're raising a few of the fees and normally they're very modest, you know, $1 or $2. T-ball league, football, soccer, volleyball, again, very modest increase of $4 and 8. No changes with team sports. No changes with general rec. Senior citizen programs, no changes. Administrative fees. The few permits, we're just raising the Evanshine concession security deposit. We just had a few issues with that. So that's why it's increasing by about $15. And then of course the beer and wine permit that we talked about in January that Parks Commission approved. And then other than that, that's the special event fee. And I want to explain a little bit about the special event fee. So the city does get contacted on a somewhat regular basis about holding special events that don't require the rental of a building. In particular, there's been marathons ran at Lake Vista. And the way we currently have it set up, they have to rent the pavilion, but even though they're not using it. So we want to change that and allow for them to rent the park, but not the actual physical building attached to it, so it can be rented to somebody else. This will allow for more like weddings and parties and such. So that.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
So when we have these events there, are they renting the building because they want to use the men's and women's facilities?
My understanding from Mary Jane is that they are just renting the park space itself. So there's some cleanup and to be involved with that, normally removing, cleaning up the garbage cans and any debris left behind. Most of the events that we've had are pretty good about keeping the space clean. But this will allow to have basically 2 rentals on the property at the same time.
Thanks for that.
There's no other changes for maintenance service or rentals.
Well, I think it sounds great to, like a great idea to make the rental, those large event rental fees more flexible. I think that sounds like really smart. One of the only questions I had, and I don't want it to sound like I'm in any way opposed to it. I just wanted to note that there were a couple of changes that now I'm not seeing them. There were a couple of changes that I was surprised. It was more like a 10% increase, which, in the dollar amount, it's not that much, but 10% increase year over year seemed like more than I would expect. And I wondered if there was a little story behind maybe the reason for is it just to get in line with other community rental fees? Or so, like, for example, the youth team sports hourly fees went up 10%, which, bucks is $4, but $8 on 80 is actually, it's more than inflation, that's for sure. So I just wondered if there was anything to tell us about that.
Sure. My understanding is it's to keep in line with neighboring communities.
Mm-hmm.
And also something that Mary Jane mentioned in our conversation is that several years ago, we weren't changing our fees really at all. And so she said that in 2014 and 2016, the Parks Commission did raise many of these fees, but then it stayed the same in 2017. We didn't make really any changes. So for really the last 2 years, 2018, 2019, we haven't had much movement in any of those fees. So this is just helping us bring it back in line again with other neighborhoods or neighboring communities.
I remember that from one of the other meetings too, because there are some that have a jump in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the biggest jumps though are the non-resident fees rather than resident fees too.
Oh, is that what NR stands for?
Yeah, non-resident.
Thanks.
Well, too bad for them. No.
Right. I'm glad that my sister decided to move to Oak Creek so that I can use her as my mailing address for some of my rental stuff.
Is that legal?
She rents it. She pays for it.
Making a confession on video.
I know, really.
Heather, do you not live in the city anymore?
No, I've never lived in the city. I'm with the school district.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're a school rep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I live there, but I don't.
We feel like you live here too.
Just saying, you do a lot of service for the city.
Okay, well, if anybody, are we looking for a motion to approve these changes here, Lori?
Yes, please.
Yeah, would anybody like to make a motion?
Steve also make a motion to
to-
approve these changes.
Okay, Steve made a motion. Any second?
I'll second Heather to second.
All right, all in favor of approving the changes as proposed, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, then that's approved. Thank you.
Only the non-residents. I'm kidding.
Okay, then. Anything else about that one, Lori?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, then moving on to our highlight of this meeting, review of the final skate park design.
All right, so bear with me again as I share my screen. So working with Kenton Russell from New Line Skate, he did provide us now with the final design, which you can see on the screen. Excuse me for a second. So as you can see, based on previous concept we looked at, he centered everything within the pad to really help with the flow of movement on that pad, with the hopes that it still provides that open space that a lot of the residents were requesting to practice tricks and move around without risking conflict with others. So as you can see in this picture, 1, 2, and 3 are what is included in the proposal as that meet the budget. So the budget was just a little under 275. So this total came out to basically 220,000. We did ask for a 10% contingency fee just due to the fluctuation of materials, the cost of materials. So the project total stands right now at just a smidge under 270,000. He did provide a couple alternatives just in case the bid comes in lower, and those can be seen as A, B, and C. So we hope everybody likes the new design.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I think he did a really good job bringing a unique skate space.
Yeah.
So what are next steps after this? How do they actually make this happen, and with what money?
What money? So this money was already allocated through last year. So, and it's mostly paid through impact fees. So we are still a go on this project.
Great.
Lori, would you mind just sliding down your screen so I could see the 3D version of it? Thank you.
Yeah, the 3D version is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
It really helps you understand how big that slab is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space around it.
Yes.
Which I like.
Yeah.
When are they thinking this might happen?
Well, we still need to get the final engineering plans and then go through the bidding process. Maybe Ted or Jeff could speak of when they think this might occur. I'm thinking later in the summer.
Well, we were actually hoping it would be already going.
Wow.
The design dragged down a little longer than we had hoped, but we think that the time was well spent. So we're certainly hoping that we can get it bid out within the next month or so, and I would anticipate it would probably be starting construction late summer, maybe early fall. So I don't necessarily know as how we're going to get a ton of skating on it this year, but it's not something that's going to just dry up and go away. It'll be there for the following year. So we're certainly hoping to get it started this tail end of this summer.
Really exciting.
I just feel really trendy that I can talk about a quarter pipe with hips and know what I'm talking about.
Are we all, maybe this should be part of the parks tour. We can, next year, we can like get out our boards and.
You know, Anne, I think you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll have Heather teach us.
Right, yeah, because I'm cool
Get
like
on our
that.
boards and break a hip.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
I'm happy that I have my body parts intact.
I might need to wrap myself in bubble tape first, but
I don't know. I tried skiing for the first time a few months ago and I am not built for it.
I'm thinking we just put like a tarp with like a hose and just turn it into a big water slide.
I can handle that.
That's where my mind is.
Well, people say we do need a swimming pool.
They do, yes. It's a little bit more expensive than a skate park.
Yes. And a heck of a lot more maintenance.
Yeah. Okay, anybody have any questions or concerns they'd like to share with regard to this new design? No? Then I believe that the staff here are looking for a potential recommendation from our commission to move forward, approve this design and ask for it to be made the final design.
Yes,
Is
we
that
are. Please.
correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yep.
So would anybody like to make such a motion? If you're looking for the wording, it's in the packet or something like it. You can be inspired.
So I'd like to recommend the Common Council look for approval for the final skate park plan design.
Anyone second it?
Steve Altschul second.
Was the
That
wording
wording
right
is-
on that?
That wording is horrible. So much for review. Yeah, the Parks
I
Commission.
feel like the
The
statement
Parks
it's in,
Commission needs to make a recommendation for the Common Council to approve the final design for the Avonshine Skate Park.
For the
Yeah.
Avonshine, okay. So
yeah.
I'd like for, okay, so should I restate
You
it
could just
then?
say ditto if you want.
I love your phrasing. Ditto, yeah. I would recommend the
apologize.
Common Council approval of the final skate park design in Avonshine for consideration.
What she said.
Great. Yes, that's
Thank
great.
you.
And then Steve, do you continue your second on that?
Yeah, yes, I do. I second.
Excellent. So all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Say aye.
That mess of a motion.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Then that is passed and we have put that forward to Common Council. Excellent.
Okay.
So moving
right
on.
along.
Next item, it would be G, review and discussion of the public participation plan for future Ryan Business Neighborhood Park.
Okay, so let me just get this shared screen going again, guys. Okay, so just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it better. So when the Amazon deal came through, Amazon worked with the county and did, I believe, a swap. Jeff, correct me, and Ted, if I'm wrong on this. And through this deal, we basically are going to be like Johnstone and Riverton Meadows, where the city is going to lease the land and are allowed to develop it. However, the county is going to own the property. So what we're really hoping to achieve is to start working on talking to the neighborhood. The neighborhood really wasn't happy with the Amazon development. And they felt like they didn't maybe have as much say in it as they hope, but we want to really make sure that they have a say in this park. So we're looking to do a public participation plan and reach out to the public to talk to them about what they're hoping to have for amenities in this park. You know, whether it's a playground or a trail or if they just want to leave it as green space. There are so many options to consider, especially given that this is almost 30 acres of land. There is a wetland that goes right through you know, the western portion of it. So that might present some challenges with any kind of design. But the budget for the project is approximately $350,000. This is all funded through TID monies, so the money is there. This is, again, one of the few projects that we can still move forward with. And the staff really hopes to have some sort of design in place in the fall. But this, again, is going to require some public participation, and I'm really hoping that I can tap to Park Commission members to help get involved in not only determining how we're going to do the outreach, but also serve as a voice for this project and rally the troops So elements of the public participation plan that we need to consider is how many times we're going to do any outreach, timeline, the structure of how we're going to do that outreach. Are we going to go door to door? Are we going to have a public meeting and have people come to one location? Methods, we have to identify methods to notify the public about project news, activities, provide opportunities for public comment. And then also methods of sharing public comments with commissioners and Milwaukee County Parks. So if there's any two individuals interested, just to forewarn you, I also have the other park, Orchard Hills Micro Park, that I'm going to be asking of the same favor to our commission members. So who's interested?
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to sit back a little bit. I'm happy to come out and do what I can, but I'm not gonna be able to take the lead on this right now. I'm got some other things that are maxing me out. So if there's anybody that has room in their life for this.
I should probably make it clear, I'll still be the lead, but I am looking for somebody that's gonna have those conversations and also join us when we're doing the public workshops. Or however we're doing the public outreach.
I will volunteer to come to public outreach events and help kind of orchestrate or run or just be a voice or just kind of be a face. I'm afraid that I don't want to take on too much right now with doing more than that.
That's understandable.
I'm able to do that as well, Lori, and I mean, I may have a little bit more bandwidth now, but
okay.
Just want to make sure that I understand fully what's needed and that I'll be able to deliver for you.
Sure, and we can discuss this also in further detail as we move along. I just was hoping that I could get two names for each project. As you can imagine, trying to run two park development projects is pretty consuming. And given all the other activities that we have going on for Ted and Jeff and I, we truly appreciate any kind of support that we can get from the Parks Commission members. I know you guys have always said that you want to be involved.
I know. I have. I've always been like, let us get involved, Lori. Let us get involved. And now I'm like, yeah, sorry. I'm totally maxed out. I can't do it.
And I do want to be realistic about it too. You guys all have full-time jobs and or being full-time parents and other activities. And so, you know, we'll work with you on how much of a time commitment you could possibly help with. But I would just also appreciate hearing your input as a sounding board on what you feel is the best way to go forward with these. So I hear that laughter. So.
And I would say, I want to just also throw out there, I have no preference as to which park I might be assigned to.
Okay.
I live very close to the Ryan Road Amazon Park. That's probably going to be the closest park to my home once it's done. So that's excellent. But I also work at Northwestern Mutual, which is right across the street from the other one.
Yeah.
So I have close proximity ties to both parks, and either one would be appropriate for me to be, you know, kind of tightly wound in this project.
And here, actually, just to make this whole conversation easier, just to throw item 3H onto the board, which is the Orchard Hills Pocket Park. That the future Orchard Hills Pocket Park, which is on West Orchard Way near the new apartment complex. It was the former Apple Creek Farms neighborhood, right? Or the current Apple Creek Farms neighborhood. This park is just generally a pocket park. Let me actually just quick show you guys that one too for a second, just so you know what we're.
Didn't we visit this one last year?
Yeah, we did go through it on the tour. I mean, it is really just this tiny little cute plot of land. I mean, we have really limited space to work with. You know, you're not going to get a trail system in this or, you know, anything big, but we could do some really creative stuff with such a small space. It's less than an acre, half of an acre actually. Sorry, just realized this is not sharing correctly. Here we go. There we go. So it's just this tiny little plot of land between the apartments are up here. The water tower is right to the right of it. And then the Apple Creek Farms neighborhood is to the south. So we did have a brief conversation with the utility department just to see if we could use a little bit more land. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but just to the right of that little walkway right here around the tower. So I'm still waiting on word on that. But the same situation. This is funded through money set aside from the developer. The budget for this project is $200,000. Same situation. We really are hoping to have a solid plan in place by the fall, the end of the fall. Yeah. But
There's a
I'm
budget
hoping-
for 200,000 for that park, really?
Yeah, that's what the developer gave. And I should clear that up too, that part of that's park impact fees.
I'd like to volunteer that Adam be the lead of that project.
Mhm.
He should really come to these
I
meetings.
think I was gonna say, if he doesn't show up, you don't know what you're gonna get assigned, right?
So Adam and Chris Guzikowski are now in charge of the
Yes.
Orchard Hills. If you guys want to table this discussion too until the next meeting, until everybody's here, so that it's not just all relying on your shoulders, we can do that as well.
You know, I think, and I don't want to make more work for you, Lori, but maybe what would be helpful is like maybe a very vague, like a jot down schedule of what the expectation is. Is this 20 hours? Is this 5 hours? Is this over the course of 6 months? Is it really just 1 month? You know, that sort of just to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be over the course of, well, right now it's end of May. So June, July, August, September. We're really hoping to have something in place by like October, November at the latest.
Right. So is it like a day a month? Is it a day a week?
I'm thinking about a day a month and probably less than that.
Yeah. So if maybe if we do talk about this again, if that could just be laid out, because then I can feel like, oh yeah, I can commit to that.
or the other option is if you guys don't want to, if you guys don't want to, right? If you guys don't want to be that actively involved, you can also choose that as well. I know from previous conversations, you guys said that you really wanted to get involved, so I figured I'd give you.
I give you credit, Lori. That is something that I have been saying, and you have come through with a really good opportunity. You have listened. You have given us a great opportunity to get involved, and I am so sorry that I am being so standoffish about it. I regret my busyness right now.
No, that's okay. Again, if you guys want to decline the offer, I totally understand. Everybody has a lot on their plate. And here, you know what, even at the end of the day, if you guys don't have to make the commitment now, but I would really, really appreciate, we've had commission members show up to some of these events and they check it out, and I definitely feel your support, but what would be helpful is like helping manning those booths and being a voice for it. I know other people have stepped up and also helped talk on social media about it, and that's all really helpful. I find incredibly helpful, because then it's just not my voice saying it, it's yours too. So that kind of input and that kind of help, I think it's worth its weight in gold.
You know, I can commit to
Yeah.
commit to that level of commitment.
Just let us know what is needed, Lori.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
If you
definitely
have
help
certain
too.
events and just want to let us know, like, hey, we have this going on, unless you need us to commit to like one project, but I mean, I could probably help out with multiple events, and just depends on what comes up.
I kind of feel like, yeah, if it's a sign up sheet and let us know, okay, it's going to be one morning at a farmer's market or one event, like I could do something like that, but I don't want to be the one to be heading up, going door to door, knocking, going, hi, how do you want us to, expand your park and what service do you need? I'd rather have more condensed times that we can just help out.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I heard my answer loud and clear. And then, and again, please do not feel bad about it. I just want to make sure that you guys do know that we do appreciate your help on everything, and we do want your involvement in it, but we also know you guys are already volunteering your time to help us with Parks Commission. I don't want to overwhelm anyone. So
Lori, just connect with me. I'll connect with me anytime once you have something
sure.
where you're ready to like talk about what actually needs to be specifically done, and we can figure out how much of it I can do.
Okay.
Or tell Adam that he has to do it all.
Or I will assign Adam to do it.
I'll just shoot an email. I'll CC all you on it. I'll blind copy you so you can get the humor in it. And then just say, hey, guys nominated you for this. And so you're leading it. Give me your ideas. It's due on Monday.
His ears are ringing right now, I'm sure.
All righty. Well, so that's all we have for our agenda, I believe. That was it.
Okay. Well, okay, well, I guess then that's it. Anybody have a motion to adjourn? Not that we really need, I guess we don't really need one. I will adjourn this meeting if no one has any objections. Excellent, meeting adjourned. All right, there we go. Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
for everybody's help. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being so flexible about doing this through new technology, or well, I know many of you guys are using this for your work, but this is new for the Parks Commission. I have a feeling we're probably going to continue this for a while, just to give you a heads up. But again, thank you so much for participating and being so helpful.
Thank you for putting this together. I am impressed with what a smooth technological experience it was. It was pretty great. So good job to the staff and whoever is in the background keeping us muted and all that. It's been
think of the gas you all saved, not having to drive to the city hall.
Yeah.
Especially for our friend up here in the Northwoods visiting.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, you too. See ya. Have a good holiday weekend.
You too.